Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am going to be talking about the throwing knives, because in the most recent patch, they were buffed, and now they are absolutely broken. Like, we got two wild changes in the most recent patch that I couldn't put both of them in the same video. It was the APS turret and the throwing knives, and both of the changes were just so odd to me that I just had to make two separate videos. So I talked about the APS turret already, and today we're going to be talking about the throwing knives. They were buffed. So they reduced the delay before the first projectile spawns from 0.22 seconds to 0.11 seconds to make the attacks more responsive. So that was just like literally cut in half there. Reduced the delay between the first and second projectile, spawning from 0.15 seconds to 0.11 seconds to make it easier to land both knives on a moving target. So if you don't know, you can like get both of the knives to land in a different place, and now like the distance between the two knives is like a 1/10 of a second instead of, I don't know, a 15th of a second, I suppose, is what it would be. So it's just a lot easier to hit two shots on someone now than it was before. Increase the initial projectile speed from 138 meters per second to 166 meters per second. Increasing the weapon's precision, rather. So that's like a huge velocity buff as well. Increase the primary attack damage from 60 to 63, which is just a nice extra 3 bonus damage. But they're so much easier to use now, and they really are pretty decent. And in all this footage that you're gonna see, this is all in one game. This is just a quick play game, and in it I went 10-1 as a light. This was my second game of trying to get footage for the throwing knives, and I like never play light because light kind of sucks. This is my second game of using the throwing knives, and I went 10-1. And you'll see a lot of my fights are really, I'm not aiming well at a lot of them, and I still go 10-1. So they're absolutely insane now. So we got one thing nerfed right into the grave, which was the APS turret, and one thing like buffed a crazy amount for some reason. Now, I don't want to see this nerfed. I don't want this to be nerfed again. I want the other stuff for light that kind of sucks to be buffed. The throwing knives were originally meant to be a weapon that were like required a high skill ceiling to use, and I think they are still that, but I think they're just a little bit easier to use than they were before. But like, I think if you're gonna be using throwing knives and you're playing against, you know, triple stacking heavy in a ranked game, I don't think you're going to be able to do so much. So instead of nerfing this, again, I'd really like to see all of the other stuff buff. Everyone that watches the channel consistently is gonna know that I really am not a fan of all these nerfs. But this buff to the throwing knives, this is a step in the right direction. It was just a very, very strong buff. And if you buff one thing without buffing like all of Light's other weapons as well, then obviously people are going to be calling this crazy overpowered because everything else is still kind of weak, right? I do think the M11 and the XP54 is still going to be your best bet, but I mean, the throwing knives are a really cool weapon. They're like just an awesome weapon to use. It feels very satisfying when you hit your shots. I think I hit like one right click attack on someone, which is very, very satisfying in this game. It's almost more satisfying than the sniper. So yeah. But definitely a pretty massive buff to the throwing knives, and I am a fan of it. I think the throwing knives are a cool weapon, and no one was using them before, and now if you go into like a quick play game, a lot of people are going to be using them. I don't think they're broken. I think playing heavy and having the RPG and then your weapon of choice, I think that's still just going to be better. I think lights just suck a little bit less now because they have a weapon that can do something against the mediums and the heavies without requiring like an insane amount of precision. It kind of feels like how the SH-1900 did back before that was nerfed, for anyone that remember that. The SH-1900 used to be super, super powerful, and it did require a skill, but like a medium amount of skill. And I feel like that's the throwing knives place right now. Like, if you can't aim with projectile weapons, then this probably isn't going to be for you. If you're really, really good with hit scan weapons rather, you're probably going to have a tough time using these projectile weapons. So I think it kind of lives in that like medium skill level required, and you can get like decent stuff out of it. So yeah, if there's any footage playing in the background, I think I'll just let that play out. But throwing knives are very, very, very solid now to be playing in quick play. And if you want to bring this into ranked, I don't know how that would do, but they're not weak, I'll say that much. If you can use the evasive dash well, if you're like a sword user that's really, really good with the evasive dash, I think you might be able to get some damage done in with the throwing knives if you learn how to aim with them. Definitely pretty okay right now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.